Okay, so while I plan to look at assist trophies pretty soon, there have been some general things popping up in the Smash community that I need to talk about. One of which being so popular that I keep getting comments on my shorts asking if I'm gonna go over it. So let's do that. Here's the preamble. Normally, if King K. Rool throws his crown and fails to retrieve it, it can be picked up and used as an item by the opponent, which is pretty useful. But if the king himself tries to do this, he'll just crown himself again, restoring his side special, but no item. But luckily, that's where the tech that B2 Alice shared on Twitter comes in. I'm not sure if it originally came from anywhere else. It's seriously been getting shared by so many people lately. For the sake of helping you understand how the idea of this tech developed, I'll start by just showing you this exact setup. Go close to the side blast zone and throw your crown into it. Then die. When you respawn, you'll have your crown still on your head, but another crown also respawns as an item. That's right, it's a crown duping glitch, and it's actually really good because now K. Rool can use a crown himself and still use his side special. But there's a handful of elephants in this room now, so let's tackle some of the issues you'll run into if you were to try this exact setup yourself. For one, the timing is precise. You can't just get KO'd while the crown is in the blast zone all willy-nilly. You want to shoot for getting KO'd around the same time you retrieve the crown, as you can see K. Rool putting it back on for one frame in the off-screen bubble here. You don't need to experience the specific animation for it to work, that's just the timing idea. And yes, you need to run forward into the crown while it's off-screen. If I throw it the other way and try to run away to get KO'd, it just didn't work out. And if I stand completely still after throwing it in the blast zone, the glitch won't activate. But in doing these tests, and thanks to the mirrors in the background here, we can actually get some really good insight into this glitch. While standing still, the crown just won't come back at all, meaning K. Rool stays bald. After which, you'll be able to just barely notice a glowing animation that repeats even farther off screen. This is the animation of the crown respawning, but since it's off screen, it just disappears immediately. This is because the crown normally likes to respawn by K. Rool, and I guess after enough tries, it'll respawn on the other side and be fine and dandy. So going back, why is it that the crown doesn't return to K. Rool? We can actually thread the needle by inching our way closer and closer to the blast zone, and at some point we can see that the crown will actually just disappear from right in front of us. I guess what happens is that the crown spends enough time past the blast zone that it triggers its respawn procedure, despite the fact that it was almost in range of returning to K. Rool. This mechanic would actually explain the glitch really well. The idea would be that you're just picking up the crown in the moment that it would have naturally despawned, leading to K. Rool having it on his head and to its respawn trigger being activated, which would cause the duplication. And I guess because the crown's been sorta glitched out and maybe decoupled from K. Rool, it allows it to stick around even after he gets KO'd, while a normal crown would despawn when he dies. This is mostly me just theorizing the why behind all of this, but even just by knowing the basic mechanics here lets us learn a lot more about the rest of the glitch. But before I continue on, I just want to quickly thank today's video sponsor, Raycon. Having reliable, comfortable earbuds that you can take anywhere is insanely valuable for anyone who likes to be out and about. I actually use them a lot as I go on my walks or work out, and that's not me just saying that. I use these almost every day. And since it's Raycon's anniversary, their Everyday Earbuds Classic are now 20% off, making it a great time to get some. These Everyday Earbuds Classic have loads of upgrades. Its noise cancellation is really nice, though I also appreciate their awareness mode that lets you stay alert while out in public. Plus, their multi-point connectivity allows you to pair two devices at once, and they feel comfortable in your ears, something that was always an issue for me with other brands. I'm also a big fan of their color options, like this cool mint flavor that I got. Really suits my vibe. And despite its affordable price, it has the same high quality audio as the other big brands, paired with its 32-hour battery life and quick charge function, and it's really great being able to actually use this every day. So if you want your own, click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/pkbeats to get 20% off the Everyday Earbuds Classic. It'll really help the channel out if you do, and thank you Raycon for sponsoring today's video. So we've duplicated the crown, yahoo! But now if you try to do anything with it, you'll immediately notice that it just disappears again. I imagine this is a similar mechanic to when K. Rool picks up his own crown, as the range seems to be the same. So I guess it still remembers its original owner, just not enough to care if he dies. Luckily for us, this crown grab range isn't that big, meaning you can still pick it up if you keep your distance. And if you Z-drop it, there's a window where you can re-grab it without absorbing it, so you can still make use of some good item combos. Now, the crown despawns if it's left untouched for long enough, and obviously the opponent can use it too just like normal, meaning it can even backfire on you. This combined with all the other factors makes me wonder if it's worth losing your stock for? Maybe if you're already at really high percents, you can make that sacrifice, but otherwise you're just dying in order to get one item. And while it does stay around even if you throw it off stage, meaning it could realistically stay in the match forever, again, the opponent can also use it, and if you're not careful, you can accidentally get rid of it forever. Well, this is how most people viewed the tech for a pretty good while. And yet, even despite all of that, people were still labbing it out. Here's a post by Sanyukuri on Twitter which shows a good setup on stages like Small Battlefield or Final Destination to consistently get it to happen there, since remember the timing and positioning is fairly precise. And as you can imagine, sky is kind of the limit for the types of combos this opens up for K-Rool, with this post from Running Buffalo just being one of many examples. But here's the thing. As absolutely hysterical as it is to picture a low tier tech requiring the user to die horribly, you don't actually need to die. Let's go back to the explanation from before. This activates when you pick up the crown as it's about to naturally despawn from being in the blast zone for too long. You need to move forward in order to pick it up when this happens, but that's it. Dying was not the required step of the process. This was easiest to accomplish by getting yourself killed due to how close the blast zone is, but if you go forward just very slightly and very carefully, that'll work too, and you don't even have to die. But, you know, if you try to pick up this duped crown, you can't. K-Rool won't interact with it, and it'll just disappear. Even if an opponent picks it up and throws it at you, K-Rool can't use it himself. It's not until he gets KO'd that he's able to pick up his duped crown, which will make you think like, okay, so dying is still necessary, right? But nope, there's actually a workaround for this. Here's all you need to do. Dupe the crown without dying, use side special again, but don't let it return to you. And, well, now you can grab the duped crown just fine. It doesn't even seem to matter which order you grab them. As long as your normal crown becomes an item, something about that will cause the duped crown to be interactable now. It's actually that easy. It's still a ton of hoops and nonsense to go through just to get access to what Rob has in his down special, but I guess you take what you can get with characters like this. Bro, imagine if you could have 2 of your awesome projectile. Wait a second. Okay, so in summary, dying makes the glitch way easier to set up, but it's not a requirement, which definitely opens up a lot of the potential for this glitch to be actually used. On top of that is the fact that there's a certain blast zone we've been ignoring. Yeah, the one up there. I saw this tweet from UDD that initially brought up the idea to me, but not only is this setup a lot safer, it's also way easier. I just buffered a jumping side special, then buffered an up special, and that was it. It just worked. The main caveat with this method being that you usually can't get this high up on your own. So you've got to take a good amount of vertical knockback, but without dying. And then you've also got to take the time to let your real crown become an item too, so that you can even interact with the dupe one in the first place, hoping that in that time, the opponent just doesn't take your own crown and kill you to death with it. But a lot of these elements weren't known about until a while later, due to how much testing this has been getting from the community. I'll even bring up Miyamoto Michan, who shows us again how you can get this to happen on tournament legal stages, this time just with the no death variant. Granted, 90% of people are just gonna try and probably succeed at edgeguarding you when you're out here anyways, but regardless, what I'm saying is that there's room for more development with this tech, and while I try to be thorough with this video, if there's anything else big that gets discovered, I'll have a pinned comment with more information. And for the time being, just keep your expectations for this glitch's viability in check, since things can still easily go really wrong. As an example, if you get hit while holding the duped crown, it can end up dropping, thus landing in your model and thus making it disappear like we saw before. So yeah. I still really love the tech though, and frankly my channel is more oriented towards random useless stuff anyways, so let's talk about random useless stuff with this glitch. Because we don't need to die to set this up, it's a bit easier to get this to happen with a lot of crowns. It's still very precise, so I was only ever able to get like 4 dupes at once before they eventually started to naturally despawn. However, the crown won't despawn if another character is holding it. So if we do this in an 8-player match, we can get up to 8 crowns being held at the same time, which is a pretty good number, but I guess it's actually 9 if we count the one K-Rool is wearing, though by that same logic. Any 8-player match with 8 K-Rools already has 8 crowns, so you just get every one of them to do the glitch and then you've got 16. Which is still a decent number, and if you don't want to count the crown being worn, then you can do this with Villager or Isabel too by just pocketing one crown and then holding another and getting a total of 14 from them, and then one that K-Rool holds himself. And of course, you can refresh its despawn timer by constantly throwing it and picking it up, meaning Villager or Isabel can keep one in the pocket, then juggle 2 or maybe even 3 of them to constantly keep it alive, technically raising their amount to, let's just say, 28 between the 7 of them, and then K-Rool's own brings it to like 30 or so. But as you can tell based on the fact that I wasn't getting live footage for the 8-player tests, I do not have access to 8 controllers, let alone have a way to constantly play hot potato crowns between several different characters while continuously getting the glitch reactivated, so this is more of a use your imagination kind of hypothetical. Although I'm sure the PK Beats in the Octopus alternative universe is doing just fine. And if you were curious, even if you could manage to keep crowns around forever, the item limit is at 64, which we've covered before on the channel, so I imagine the limit will be the same for the crowns, just 64. And with the same setup from those old videos, we can see that once the item limit is reached, K-Rool keeps his crown inside special, but if it lands and becomes an item, it'll just disappear forever, once again leaving K-Rool perpetually bald. Until he dies and respawns at least. You know, just like people. So for now, that's the crown duplication glitch. I really do love bugs with this guy. It reminds me of that one from when the game first launched, where he would just utterly break in all forms. I even made a video about it back in early 2019, though it's obviously outdated in many ways. Good times, good times. But that's not the only fun fact that popped off recently, as this clip from MKLeo's stream started making waves as well. To talk about this clip, I'll just reiterate a certain mechanic in the game called crouch canceling. Basically, if you get hit while crouching, you won't get sent as far. The effect isn't nearly as useful in this game as it is in games like Melee, which is probably why you wouldn't see it used as much now. However, on top of reducing how far you get sent, it also greatly reduces the amount of time you get stunned by moves, which yes, affects moves that literally stun. Here's where MKLeo's tech comes in. Pac-Man really likes his bell item because it can easily combo into some pretty powerful moves. It's a great item to have. But when MKLeo was fighting T at USG Festival, he would just crouch whenever T was fishing for a bell confirm, as if he got hit while crouching, the stun would be so low that T just couldn't get a full punish in with it. It's hysterical to think that a counter to Pac-Man in neutral is to just crouch. You just sit there, menacingly. If you get hit, oh well. And if you can react, just shield. I don't really have the competitive wherewithal to add much more outside of that though, so to compensate, allow me to show a fun tech with this mechanic involving items. On most stages against most characters, even if you get hit at 0% from center stage, the Dragoon will kill you. Of course, if you're on the right side and you get sent left, you can live longer, and there's other factors like your character's weight and stage of course, but in reality, if you try to dodge or be cheeky in dealing with this item, there's always the real risk that you get outplayed and instantly die. So here's the safer tech. If you're at low percents and are heavy enough or are just on a big enough stage, just run to the center and crouch. No more mind games, no more risks. You just eat the damage and guarantee that you stay alive. It's kind of funny, but honestly it can really come in handy. Granted, given the extreme power of the Dragoon, this stops being viable once you've taken even a little bit of damage, but if you've got a fresh stock and you don't want to risk losing it immediately, try whipping this one out. It's cool stuff. Wait, you already missed King K. Rool? Well, lucky for you, while I was making this video, I saw this tweet by Mr. Box, which involved both him and Pac-Man. Yeah, I'm bringing the whole gang together. So if you didn't know, if the opponent is too big for K. Rool to suck up with his blunderbuss, then it just won't work. You know, either if the opponent gets bigger or K. Rool gets smaller, whatever works. Well, for some godforsaken reason, if K. Rool is blunderbuss sucking Pac-Man and he uses his neutral special, all of his items just fall. It matches whatever charge Pac was at for the time, but why is this game like this? I mean, I like it like this, honestly. So when you do this normally, no size change, you can see that an item will get dropped, or even flung, anyways. So I suppose this is just how the blunderbuss works with these items. Though while I started this topic with K. Rool because we love him, we can see something similar with other suck boxes, like Kirby or King Dedede. It just does a bit less jank with them since they like to eat the items that Pac drops, but still the idea is the same. And for when you create this fountain of items, they do actually exist. It's not just visual. So you can pick up one of the duped items while Pac still has his own one loaded, which should normally be impossible for him to do. Though once he throws whatever he's got, he won't be able to charge a new special for as long as you're holding the other item. Also, if you try to elongate the whole process with a timer, instead of getting a longer fountain of items, the entire process slows down, which is interesting. But at this point, I think we've gone through enough weird jank with the game, so I'm just gonna end things there. I hope you enjoyed this video, which was mostly a deep dive into one single glitch, but had a few other topical things tacked on at the end just for fun. That's just kinda how we do it here. Again, regarding the crown duplication glitch, if anything changes or there's anything big at all, I'll be leaving a pinned comment about it. I think what I described in this video is a good foundational understanding, but as more people do more tests, more things are gonna get learned, which is awesome. But yeah, that's about it. One more thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video, and a big thanks to my usual patrons Burbo, Pixelboy, Rain, Soul700, and everyone else for their massive support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.